anything tastes better with cheese. And it's actually something that can be really helpful for your weight loss goals, which is why today I'm sharing the top 15 best cheeses to eat for weight loss goals. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's nutrition human performance. On my channel, I teach you the science-backed tips to help you achieve your weight loss and wellness goals. So if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Now, before we actually dive into the list, because I know there will be comments of this nature saying cheese is so fattening, how could you possibly say it's good for a weight loss goal? But guys, listen up. There's actually been a lot of research on this topic lately. And specifically that full fat dairy products can be really useful for helping to prevent obesity. It's gotten a lot of researchers rethinking this whole idea that full fat dairy is bad, and actually that we should probably be reviewing the guidelines to not emphasize the low fat options. Now, the likely reason researchers are finding that full fat dairy products actually could be helpful for preventing weight gain is because it's a really great source of both fat and protein. And if you've been following my channel for even like a microsecond, you know how important that combination is for raising your satiety hormones and preventing the cravings for foods that would normally work against your goals. Not to mention, dairy-based proteins are a really great source of complete protein. It's one of the easiest proteins to digest and to use as a protein, which means it really helps to protect muscles from breaking down during a weight loss process, which then helps prevent from a slowing metabolism during the weight loss process. So other than the fact that cheese just tastes amazing, there's actually a lot of reasons why you might want to be adding it in to your day-to-day. So let's dive into the list of the 15 best options that you can start using. This first option I actually have in my fridge, and that is cottage cheese, which I know might not be the thing you think about when you think cheese, but technically it is going to be a cheese. Cottage cheese is surprisingly impressively high in protein. About a cup of cottage cheese will give you anywhere between 24 to 28 grams of complete protein, which is a lot. And the reason why I'm putting cottage cheese as the first item on this list is because I love that you can actually use it as the base of a meal, not just as an add-on to add a little bit of extra protein. So especially if you are a vegetarian, cottage cheese is a really amazing source of a high quality protein. I personally love making cottage cheese bowls. I've also made pancakes in the past with it, and it's really light and fluffy and amazing. This is one of the brands that I use, but there's a couple of other really great options. But just a good rule of thumb when looking at cottage cheese, make sure you get the full fat option. And the way that you know it's full fat or uses whole milk, it'll usually say it right on the container. So see, this says whole milk classic, but often it will also be described as a percent milk fat. So usually 4% is what you want to see. There are some that are going to be a little bit higher, but usually that's just because they've added in extra cream. So you can just go for around 4% or look for one that specifically says whole milk. And that's to make sure you get both the fat and the protein to help you stay satisfied. Okay, so next up, I'm just gonna bring you straight into my fridge. Okay, so next up we have Parmesan. Now, Parmesan is generally going to be considered one of the highest protein, more traditional cheeses, like what we'd actually think of as a cheese. Per 100 grams, this has about, I think it's 32 grams of protein per 100 grams, which also equates to about 10 grams per ounce. And that's all with less than 1 net gram of carbohydrate per ounce. Oh, it smells so good. I love cheese. Parmesan is great because it's so easy to use in so many different applications. Obviously, pesto is probably the one that most people think of, and that's a great way to add a ton of flavor as well as a little bit of protein and 0 sugar to your meals. But I honestly just like taking slices of it and literally just eating it as is. Okay, next is Swiss, which I actually don't have any on hand, but I don't know about you guys, this one tastes amazing in an omelet. Like doing a little bit of Swiss cheese with mushrooms and onions and amazing. So good. And per 100 grams by weight of Swiss, you're generally going to get around 27 grams of protein, or about 8 grams per ounce. Now, for pretty much all cheeses, especially aged cheeses that are harder like Parmesan or any of the sliceable cheeses, the net grams of carbohydrates are going to be typically less than 1 gram per ounce. So if you're really carbohydrate sensitive, that's a good thing to know because they've been aged. So the lactose, which is the milk sugar in cheese, has actually been broken down and is essentially no longer there. And what you have left is just a really rich source of both protein and fat. Okay, now the fourth is cheddar. I usually always have this on hand because it's just so easy to add to pretty much any meal. We love topping our burgers that we will serve in like a lettuce bun with melted cheddar. It's also pretty mild, so a lot of kids generally like it, and it comes in at around 23 grams of protein per 100 grams of cheddar, or about roughly 7 grams per ounce. Okay, so next up is Romano, which can give Parmesan a run for its money in terms of how much protein is in it, because Romano comes in at a whopping 32 grams of protein per 100 grams of Romano, which equates to about 9 grams of protein per ounce. And I found that this one, kind of like Parmesan, is great added into meals, like if you're making meatballs, you want a little bit of that cheesy sensation. All right, next up is number 6, and I actually do have some of this, and it's Gruyere. Although I honestly don't have very much left because this is my favorite sliceable cheese. We got the Gruyere bag, the majority of what you'll see, because this is all I have left. Wah wah. So sad. But you can see that it is a harder cheese as well. And these more aged cheeses are generally speaking going to have a pretty low net carbohydrate count because they've had time to break down the lactose. And this little guy has about 30 grams of protein per 100 grams by weight. So that's like almost on par with Parmesan. There's a lot of different ways to use Gruyere. In my opinion, one of the best ways is just slice it up and eat it on the side of whatever you're eating. It's just too good of a flavor to hide within anything else. Okay, this next one, you probably mostly have seen it in like sandwiches, and that's provolone. And this has about 26 grams of protein per 100 grams, or roughly around 7 grams of protein per ounce. Now, if you are carb sensitive and you don't want to be having sandwiches because that wouldn't work for your weight loss goal, then you can get kind of the same experience by putting provolone into various types of lower carbohydrate wraps. So like the cauliflower wraps or the jicama wraps or the coconut wraps, and you can make a sandwich style meal and add the provolone in there as well. All right, now another one of my all-time favorites is actually blue cheese, and it is a little bit lower on the protein spectrum. It's going to have about 21 grams of protein per 100 grams by weight, but we all know food fatigue is a really big problem. And so finding ways to switch up the flavor and experience of your meals can help you to stay on track with your wellness journey. And blue cheese is such an easy way to change the flavor. Sounds weird, but I love adding blue cheese into like sauteed cabbage and onions. So after I've sauteed cabbage and onions, I'll throw like an ounce or so of blue cheese in there, which will help to boost the protein content by about 6 grams. And then I'll usually pair that with scrambled eggs. I don't have manchego. I thought I did because I just celebrated my birthday a couple weeks ago and we did like this whole amazing cheese board situation. But manchego is another one of those sliceable cheeses that you often will see on some type of cheese board. And it typically is going to have about 25 grams of protein per 100 grams. This is a good general crowd pleaser, especially if you're making a cheese board for a party, which pro tip, if you are going to a party and you want to make sure that you have some type of appetizer that will work for your weight loss goals, making an amazing cheese and meat board that has all the cheeses you love, the various meats that you really enjoy, and then veggies and olives and nuts, and just leaving out the crackers is pretty much always going to please everyone. And you know, you have a really high quality source of protein and fat when you're at the party. Okay, so this next one is hard goat cheeses. So this one is drunken goat, which you guys might have seen before. It's like a hard goat cheese that they've soaked the rind or the outside in wine. And using goat cheese, especially hard goat cheeses, are a really great option if you don't do as well with just regular cow's milk, because this is also crazy high in protein. Per 100 grams of this, you're going to get about 31 grams of protein, which is like 9 grams per ounce. That's a lot, actually. Wow, you can really smell the wine. Okay, next up is halloumi or paneer, which they are kind of similar. They're a little different, but they're both grillable cheeses. So they're really great options as a replacement for something like chicken if you are vegetarian, because you can literally just grill it. It's pretty cool. If you've ever been to a Greek restaurant or an Indian restaurant where they serve paneer or halloumi, that's often used as a meat replacement, and it has about 24 grams of protein per 100 grams of halloumi or paneer. Now, you can't always find it at the grocery store, kind of hit or miss, but if you have it available to you or if you see it at a restaurant, definitely give it a try because it's surprisingly just amazing. But it's cheese that's been grilled. How can it not be great? Okay, next up is Pecorino, which has about 28 grams of protein per 100 grams, or 8 grams of protein per ounce. Now this one is a lot different than the others because even though it is a hard cheese like Parmesan, it's made from sheep's milk. So it is going to have a little bit of different flavor. I love it. Like love that kind of funky cheese flavor, but you can use it in, again, a lot of the same ways as Parmesan. Just depends on what type of flavor you like. If you like kind of a little bit more mild, then more Parmesan would be probably better for you. But if you like that I don't even know, more funky cheese flavor, Pecorino is a great option. So they can both be used fairly interchangeably. All right, next is Gouda, and I know I have that in the fridge. For my birthday, my mother-in-law got me a monthly cheese subscription. I'm not mad about it. Now Gouda will have about 25 grams of protein per 100 grams. I peeled it off, but there was that like the red type of wax that you typically will see on Gouda. Gouda's pretty mild, really easy to use. A lot of kids like it, and it's good. Okay, next up is mozzarella, which actually isn't incredibly high in protein. It only has about 22 grams of protein per 100 grams, but I wanted to add it on this list because it is something that can be used on like low carb pizza options to have that same pizza experience, but not have it be loaded with refined grains. Each ounce of mozzarella is going to have around 6 grams of protein. Okay, the last one on our list is Monterey Jack, which has about 25 grams of protein per 100 grams, or around 7 grams of protein per ounce. Now you guys know that I love tacos. I have quite a few different taco recipes, and something like a shredded Monterey Jack is a really great topping to different meals like tacos. And there are so many other great cheeses, like the list could be theoretically endless, but if you want to stick to the ones that are going to be higher in protein and therefore a little bit better for your weight loss goals, then you have all these 15 great cheeses to experiment with, and these alone will keep you busy for a long time. Now, if you're looking to achieve a weight loss goal, you can check out the 3 ways you can actually use lemon to help you achieve your weight loss goal with this video next. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out with new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.